The grand chamber of the galactic Concord shimmered with the light of 1,000 worlds. Suspended within the vast station's core, the assembly hall defied gravity itself, an amphitheater woven from energy fields and celestial alloys. Representatives of countless species hovered in their respective enviropods, organic, synthetic, and those beyond definition, each waiting in hushed anticipation as the final award of the night was about to be announced. This was the Sentient Planetary Classification, GALA, a centuries-old tradition where the most advanced civilizations in the known galaxy came together to recognize the achievements and failures of planetary species. It was an event of prestige, of measured discourse and celebration. But tonight, something was different. The air carried an unspoken tension, a collective apprehension that rippled through the crowd like a solar storm waiting to break. At the central dais, Professor Vrix Tizol adjusted the shimmering data scrolls before him. A respected xenohistorian and expert in planetary development, he had spent lifetimes cataloging the quirks and idiosyncrasies of emerging civilizations. Yet, as he prepared for this final presentation, even his chitinous fingers trembled. The announcement came with a synthesized chime from the Gala's overseer, Havak 7, an AI whose logic had shaped the Concord's policies for millennia. Its voice, smooth yet devoid of warmth, echoed through the chamber. A murmur spread across the assembly. Eyes, organic and otherwise, blinked, swiveled, or pulsed in confusion. Terror was an anomaly in a civilization as advanced as theirs. Fear was a concept left to the primitive, to those still bound by biological weakness and evolutionary violence. Planets in this category had always been rogue worlds, failed biospheres, or death trap anomalies swallowed by their own chaos. But the screen before them did not display a barren rock or an uninhabitable wasteland. It displayed a single, blue-green sphere. Professor Vrix cleared his throat, his bioluminescent throat patches dimming with unease. The recipient of this year's designation as the most terrifying planet in the known universe is Sol 3, also known as Earth. A hush. Then a chorus of disbelief. Clicking mandibles, humming biosynths, the low warble of telepathic murmurs. Even the elder races, those who had watched civilizations rise and fall across the span of cosmic time, reacted with genuine shock. Ambassador Yurquen leaned forward in their gravity-cushioned pod, their translucent skin rippling with uncertainty. A respected mediator, they had long advocated for Earth's inclusion into the Concord, arguing that humans, while unpredictable, had shown promise. Surely this must be an error. Yurquen's voice carried the lilting hum of their species, soothing yet skeptical. Earth is classified as an emerging species, barely post-singularity. They are violent, yes, but terrifying. There are worlds with far greater destructive potential. Across the chamber, High Chancellor Ezeklyth stiffened, his towering, obsidian-hued form radiating unease. That, he rumbled, is precisely why they are terrifying. Professor Vrix inhaled slowly. He had expected this reaction. He had prepared for it. But even he had struggled to comprehend the depth of what he had uncovered. He gestured toward the display, activating the first sequence of data. With permission, I will explain why Earth has earned this designation. Let us begin with its nature itself. The chamber dimmed and the horrors of humanity unfolded. A collective unease settles over the galactic Concord as the presentation unfolds. The chamber, once humming with idle conversation, is now silent save for the methodical clicks of data scrolls updating in real time. Even the elder races, those who have outlived supernova, watched empires rise and fall, and seen the birth of AI gods, remain transfixed. The display flickers, bringing forth an endless cascade of images, statistics, and recordings, torrential hurricanes, Monstrous waves swallowing entire coastlines, tectonic plates shifting with violent indifference. Fire rains from volcanic peaks as the planet's own crust tears itself apart in fury. Storms that crack the sky with fire and electricity, winds that can flay flesh from bone, oceans that churn with unseen leviathans lurking just beneath the surface. And yet, among this hellscape, creatures roam, not just survive, but dominate. Predators with dagger-like teeth and eyes that glow in the darkness, their very biology honed over millions of years to kill with ruthless efficiency. Microorganisms, invisible to the eye, yet capable of extinguishing entire species in days. Venom potent enough to liquefy organs, parasites that turn living beings into puppets, plants that ensnare and devour. And at the top of it all, against every conceivable, natural law stands humanity, a species that was never meant to survive. Too fragile, too slow, too vulnerable compared to the apex predators they shared their world with. They had no fangs, no claws, no hardened exoskeletons or lethal venom. And yet, against all odds, they became the apex predator. HAVAC-7 processes the information with cold precision. Its calculations leave no room for doubt. By all logical measures, humans should have gone extinct. Instead, they thrived. The data shifts. War. A brutal, relentless cycle spanning their entire history. Conflicts fought over land, ideology, pride, and even for reasons lost to time. Stone blades became iron swords, then fire-powered weapons, then engines of destruction that could reduce entire cities to ash in seconds. Wars that reshaped continents, that ended civilizations, that scarred their own world so deeply that the land itself remembers. And yet, again, they survived. Not just survived, but adapted. They turned war into an art, a science, a philosophy. Tactics honed to perfection, strategies so unpredictable that even AI struggled to simulate them. They fought until the very concept of war was embedded in their culture, their stories, their very instincts. High Chancellor Ezeklyth shifts uncomfortably. There is no precedent for this. No species in the known galaxy has actively, repeatedly, and willingly pushed itself to the brink of annihilation and yet continued to rise. Ambassador Yurquen attempts to counter the growing unease. And yet, they argue, look at what they have achieved. Space travel, medicine that defies the limits of biology, art that transcends language, machines that think. If war is their curse, then curiosity is their gift. The display responds in kind. Images of towering space stations, ships breaching the void, rovers crawling across distant planets. They have sent probes into the abyss, shattered the barriers of their own atmosphere, reached beyond their grasp simply because they could. They have deciphered the very code of life, peered into the fabric of reality, created minds of metal and lightning. And yet, there is something deeply unsettling about their progress. They do not fear the unknown. They seek it. They split the atom without fully understanding its power, creating weapons that could render their own species extinct. They toy with artificial intelligence, knowing full well the dangers of a mind that could surpass them. They alter their own DNA, daring to rewrite nature itself. They create miniature stars in laboratories, tamper with forces that even the most advanced civilizations have deemed too dangerous. Where others see caution, humans see challenge. Where others see danger, humans see opportunity. The data stops. Silence follows. HAVAC-7 delivers its conclusion with mechanical certainty. Earth has endured 7 mass extinction events. Humanity has survived them all. If history is any indication, they will survive the 8th. A choice must be made. The galaxy cannot afford to ignore Earth any longer. Hi. Chancellor Ezeklyth speaks first, his voice cold. A species that willingly sets itself on fire to see how hot it burns is not one we should welcome. If they ever leave their system unchecked, we may be witnessing the birth of our extinction. Ambassador Yer Quen protests. And yet, what if they are more than their worst moments? What if, given guidance, they could become something greater? The debate rages. A decision must be reached. Earth will not remain hidden forever. Do they make first contact, or do they ensure that Earth remains a terrifying, distant nightmare, one that never reaches the stars? A team is dispatched in secrecy. The Galactic Concord, wary yet unwilling to let ignorance dictate policy, selects its most skilled observers, agents trained to witness without being seen, to study without interfering. Their task, to watch humanity in its element, to understand the creatures that had forced the galaxy to acknowledge their existence. They land in shadows, hidden among the noise of a species too distracted by its own chaos to notice the watchers in their midst. Within sterile walls, the alien observers witness something beyond comprehension. A human lies conscious on an operating table, their flesh parted, their organs in the open air. Around them, others in strange garments wield blades, not to kill, but to heal. They replace failing organs with synthetic ones, fuse bones with metal, stitch together what nature itself deemed beyond repair. The patient, still awake, cracks a joke about the surgeon's hands being cold. The observers do not understand. Pain is meant to be avoided. Injury is meant to be feared. Yet here, humans subject themselves to it willingly, trusting in the hands of their own kind to put them back together. The concept is not just foreign, it is deeply unsettling. They move on. A military base. The sound of explosions rumbles through the air, the ground shaking with simulated destruction. The agents watch from the shadows, horrified. On the field, below, humans engage in combat, not in anger, not in necessity, but in preparation. They hurl themselves into brutal engagements, breaking bones, drawing blood, pushing their bodies beyond what should be possible. The observers flinch as one soldier slams into another with enough force to shatter a rib cage, only for both to rise, grinning, bruised but undefeated. This is not war, this is training. And the humans love it. The observers retreat. Their reports grow more dire. A research facility. Inside, men and women in white coats poke and prod at the fabric of space itself. Screens flicker with incomprehensible equations, diagrams of technology that should not exist. A device hums ominously, distorting light around it. The lead scientist makes an offhand remark. If this goes wrong, we might accidentally erase the moon. Laughter follows. Laughter. The observers do not stay long. Patterns emerge. Wherever they look, they see a species that should not exist, let alone thrive. Yet they do, against all reason. They watch as humans celebrate their own survival. Parties marking the anniversary of past disasters, traditions born from near-extinction events. They joke about their own mortality, mock the very dangers that should have ended them long ago. They find themselves in a human dwelling, where a family sits gathered before a screen. The images displayed are monstrous, shadowed figures stalking. Prey, eerie whispers promising doom, grotesque creatures tearing through the helpless. The aliens brace for horror, for fear, for trauma. The humans laugh, they enjoy it. It is a game to them, a test of will, a thrill. The observers retreat once more. Their reports are no longer dire. They are terrified. The mistake is inevitable. 1. Observer lingers too long. A child, perceptive in the way only the young can be, sees. A sharp intake of breath, a pointed finger, a voice calling out. Others turn, eyes lock onto the figure in the shadows. The secret is undone. The Galactic Concord has been seen. First contact begins not with an announcement, not with a formal delegation, but with an alien pinned in the corner of a grocery store, surrounded by humans who are less afraid than they are curious. Diplomatic channels scramble to contain the situation. Officials on both sides rush to arrange formal meetings. The council sends representatives, hoping to salvage what was meant to be an unseen mission. Humans greet them with open arms, offering drinks, laughter, and a level of enthusiasm that is equal parts welcoming and unnerving. The aliens, trained in measured words and cautious engagement, struggle to comprehend the sheer force of human social energy. They flinch when humans slap them on the back in greeting. They recoil at jokes made in casual conversation, offhand. Remarks about dominating the galaxy and taking over the stars that are meant to be humorous but sound to alien ears like declarations of war. Tension builds. A decision looms. The Galactic Concord fractures under the weight of it, divided between fear and possibility. One faction calls for immediate containment. Humanity, in their eyes, is too volatile, too reckless. A species that laughs at its own. Suffering and defies the natural order of survival cannot be allowed to roam unchecked. If they are left unrestrained, they will consume the stars with the same ruthless determination that has carried them through their violent history. Quarantine is the only option. Another faction argues for inclusion. These creatures, for all their savagery, are problem solvers. They do not merely endure hardships, they overcome them. If they are guided, if they are given a place within the Concord, perhaps their destructive potential could be turned toward something greater. Perhaps they are exactly what the galaxy needs. The debate rages, words sharp as weapons, fear clashing against hope. Then the humans speak. They do not argue. They do not plead. They shrug. "We don't care what you decide," they say. "We'll keep exploring anyway." The words land like a detonation, shaking the chamber in a way no weapon ever could. They remind the Council that, for all its vastness, the Galactic Concord is an afterthought to them. Humanity has sailed its own path, bled for its own progress, clawed its way from the mud to the stars alone. They have tamed fire, crossed oceans, shattered the sky, and never once have they waited for permission. They will not start now. A murmur spreads through the gathered representatives. It is not arrogance, it is not bravado, it is fact. Humanity does not threaten, does not bargain. They state, and there is something deeply, unsettlingly certain about the way they say it. The Council hesitates. Then, a warning signal. A sudden, jarring realization. The data floods in, screens lighting up with undeniable proof. Humanity is already out there. Colonization ships, launched long before first contact, have breached the quarantine zone. They move like tendrils, spreading into unclaimed systems, into the unknown, without hesitation. Some are manned, others automated, designed to terraform, to lay foundations for settlements that no one gave them permission to build. The Council stares, horror dawning. The quarantine was never an option. Even if humanity is contained now, it will only be a matter of time before they break through. They always break through. Containment is no longer a debate. It is impossible. There is only one choice left: integrate Earth, or risk facing a humanity that grows unchecked, unmonitored, and unstoppable. The Council does not choose inclusion out of kindness. It does so out of necessity. And humanity? Humanity grins. The decision is made. Earth is to be integrated into the Galactic Concord, not as equals, not yet, but as a carefully monitored anomaly. Humanity will not be caged, but neither will it be fully unleashed. Restrictions are imposed. Diplomatic representatives will oversee Earth's activities. Military expansion is curtailed. Certain scientific endeavors, particularly those deemed too reckless or destabilizing, will be under strict supervision. It is not an alliance of trust, but one of necessity. Even with these limits, curiosity spreads through the Concord like wildfire. A species that endures the impossible is a puzzle that must be solved. Research initiatives are launched. Entire scientific teams dedicated to understanding how humans survive the extremes that would annihilate most sentient beings. The ability to function in freezing tundras, scorching deserts, crushing ocean depths, and the void of space with little more than stubbornness and ingenuity, these things baffle alien minds. Why do their bodies not break? Why do their minds not shatter? The first attempts at controlled human observation yield disturbing results. The subjects, aware that they are being studied, lean into it. They push themselves further. They volunteer for harsher tests. They laugh when the researchers hesitate. "Don't worry," they say. "We've done worse to ourselves." Across the stars, a new phenomenon emerges, one no one predicted. The first alien visitors to Earth arrive expecting a world of horror. They receive something far worse, an invitation. Extreme tourism explodes in popularity. For the first time in galactic history, creatures who evolved in the soft cradles of stable environments come face to face with Earth's chaotic insanity. Guided survival expeditions take them into frozen wastelands, dense jungles, and the depths of the oceans. The boldest visitors attempt to experience human combat sports, only to find that even the mildest of Earth's pastimes could kill them. Some never leave. Some disappear. It becomes an open secret among the Concord. Earth is not a safe place. It is a dare. And those who come looking for the thrill of survival may find themselves unprepared for what it means to face it. The cultural shift is not one-sided. As humanity takes its first steps into the greater galaxy, something strange begins to happen. The aliens start changing. It starts small. A diplomat, confused at first, experiments with sarcasm. A researcher, studying human neurological resilience, stumbles across dark humor and finds it oddly appealing. Others begin seeking risk, adopting human customs of adrenaline-seeking hobbies, embracing uncertainty, challenging traditions they once considered absolute. Entire species, once bound by caution, begin to ask themselves dangerous questions. Not everyone welcomes this change. For all the public talk of peace and cooperation, there are those who whisper in the shadows. A species like this cannot be controlled forever. The restrictions placed upon Earth are temporary at best. If they remain unchecked, they will spread, not just physically, but culturally. Their ideas about freedom, about risk, about self-determination are already infecting minds across the Concord. Something must be done. Plans are set in motion. Contingencies are drawn. There are those who will ensure that humanity never rises beyond its station, that its influence remains contained. Some advocate for covert operations, others for decisive action. One thing is certain, this conflict is far from over. And in the heart of it all, humanity moves forward, unconcerned. They see the fear, they hear the warnings, and they smile. Let them be afraid. They've only just begun. Professor Vrix's final report remains unfinished for several minutes, the blank space at the bottom of the document waiting for a conclusion that refuses to come easily. He has spent years studying humanity, dissecting their history, analyzing their behavior. He has combed through their records of war, their feats of science, their reckless fascination with the unknown. Every new discovery has only confirmed what he feared. The galaxy has gravely misunderstood them. They were meant to be contained, watched, studied from a distance, like one might observe an unpredictable force of nature. The Galactic Concord had done all it could to place barriers between humanity and the rest of civilization, hoping to temper their expansion, to limit their influence. And yet, even now, as he sits before this report, the barriers are already crumbling. The restrictions meant to keep them in check have only made them more determined. The diplomacy meant to integrate them has only spread their ideas further. The fear meant to contain them has turned into a quiet, desperate respect. The other species had called them terrifying, had whispered of their impossible resilience, their horrifying capacity for destruction, their refusal to be anything but unstoppable. They had imagined them as monsters. But monsters could be slain. This was worse. Vrix's gaze drifts toward the live Concord surveillance feed, the one the High Council has been desperately trying to suppress. Across the screen, a single Terran vessel breaks through the outermost security perimeter, breaching the last uncharted frontier of the known galaxy. A ship bearing the mark of no government, no sanction, no approval. They had been told to wait, to stay within their designated borders. They did not. The implications ripple outward in his mind, crashing like a tidal wave against the illusion of control that the Council had built. If one ship has gone, others will follow. They cannot be stopped. Not by diplomacy, not by force, not by anything. The decision is made. He types his final words. We called them terrifying. We should have called them inevitable.